media blitz of political parties has hit a new high this election season. Full-page advertisements in newspapers and television spots have never been this torrential. Outside of media spends is the bill for chartered aircrafts, helicopters, fleets of cars, money for hooch and liquor parties. All this will have to be repaid when the party gets elected, which can make the government a rich man's handmaiden. Aware of this danger, electoral reforms down the years have put in some rules. In parliamentary constituencies, a candidate cannot spend more than 70 lakh rupees. That's the outer limit. Smaller constituencies have lower limits. Accounts of parties have to be audited. Candidates have to declare their assets. But most of these appear like sandcastles, as there is no limit on the expenditure of political parties. Yes, political parties have to declare their donors over 20,000 rupees. But data collected by the National Election Watch and the Association for Democratic Reforms show that barely 15% of the income of the larger parties comes from donors over 20,000. The balance 15% is in cash and from unknown donors. And that is only the white money. Two separate questions here. Is there a need to write fresh rules to control election expenses so that the exchequer is not mortgaged to the rich? And two, are rules needed to rein in the use of the media so that public opinion can be saved from advertorial indoctrination? Joining us to discuss this very issue, whether media and money power can manufacture opinion and thereby render our democracy a tad toothless, is our three gentlemen who have contributed a great deal to electoral reforms and the thinking on the subject. Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner of India. Professor TRILOCHAN Shastry from the Association for Democratic Reforms, whose data I was quoting to you, and who have been in the forefront of seeking more transparency in electoral funding. And senior journalist SIDDHARTH Varadarajan, who has tried to guide the debate on these issues. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. Well, let me start with the man with the data first. Professor Shastry, any numbers at all on how much more is being spent on just the media front in the 2014 elections compared to 2009?
See, we'll go with a semi-official estimate which the Election Commission, in fact Dr. Qureshi, made in the 2009 elections. And as per that, if we extrapolate it, I think about 25 crores is being spent by a serious candidate in each constituency. I mean, all of them being put together. So just the spending by the candidates themselves, and this is not only the white money, would be in excess of 12,000 crores. Now, looking at 2014 compared to 2009, it is pretty obvious that the media blitz, as you have put it, far exceeds anything we've ever seen in Indian elections. So you can make your own estimate. I think it would be closer to 20,000 crores of money that is being spent, not only on the media, but also on the campaigns and on distribution of money, liquor, big rallies, and so on.
Yeah, I'll come to the money power separately, but at the moment I'm starting with the media simply because of its ability to manufacture opinion, ability to create a wave, probably where there wasn't so much of a wave. SIDDHARTH, on that issue, do you think we are reaching that kind of a media blitz where it might perhaps negate reality and create a new reality?
Yeah, you know, I would be wary of concluding that what you spend on the more you spend, the bigger your win will be, because we've seen in the past that money hasn't always worked. But there's something about this election which leaves me very, very disturbed. As Professor Shastry has pointed out, that we've had money power in the past where candidates have spent more than they're meant to spend. But there seems to be a change in the order of magnitude in this election. Just going by anecdotal evidence, the number of front-page advertisements, even on the day of polling in every city which has gone to the polls, television ads, radio ads, social media ads, internet ads, hoardings. You know, we seem to have, you know, jumped by a factor of 10 or 20 times whatever was done last time. And obviously, the people who are spending this money, the parties, and the companies who are putting up this money to be spent, because we should not for a minute delude ourselves into believing that the money being spent is the contribution of the Aam Aadmi or the ordinary citizen who is giving 15,000-20,000 rupees.
Absolutely.
This is corporate money. And typically this is corporate money being recycled, black money being made into white, perhaps money that was sitting abroad being brought back. So the sheer volume of the spend leaves me worried, because what are the nature of the IOUs that the parties who are spending this money have given to their financiers?
Oh, absolutely.
This is where, regardless of which party manages to win, well, when we're looking at this volume of money, I think democracy loses, policy making loses, because it's the prerogative of the financier that will then be writ large over policy making.
Yeah, absolutely. Who pays the piper calls the tune. That's the old truth that election after election throws up. But Dr. Qureshi, the rules don't have anything to rein in corporate or any other money, do they? The rules have a limit on what one candidate can spend in one constituency. But there is no upper limit to what a political party can spend. So genuinely we have no rules. You can spend any amount on media, and that is legitimate expenditure. The source may be another issue, but they're not breaking any law by spending unlimited amounts of money, are they?
No, they are not breaking any law, but that is what we feel is a lacuna. Because the more you spend in the election, the more you need to collect. And how you are collecting, that becomes very important, because as I've been saying, expenditure in election has become the root cause of all corruption. Because obviously if you spend more, you'll have to collect more, and then you collect from dubious means. And as Mr. Varadarajan rightly said, there will be IOUs. If you take something from corporate house, you'll have to pay back in some way or the other by way of contract, by way of licenses, or even changing the policies, even appointing officers and ministers.
Absolutely.
So all that happens. So that's why we need to control money power. That is very central to the functioning of democracy.
Okay. No, I certainly will come to the impact of lobbying and money power, and that is something which is not just in elections. It may be a new high during elections, but money power to get decisions done, to get appointments made, can be done right through, even between elections and through every action of government. My bigger fear is that at this point in time, if you can have so much of media blitz, you can actually change people's opinion. You can make people believe that there is a wave, and, to join the bandwagon, to join the herd, thereby creating a wave where there is none. Do you fear that, Mr. Qureshi? We will come to the decision-making part in a minute, but do you think that there is an urgent need to somehow curb even the media blitz, because it might distort the truth in the first place?
Yes, the fact that media expenditure has gone up phenomenally, there is no doubt. And obviously the money spent on the media does not go waste. It does, every marketer knows that if you invest in marketing, it pays. And that's why they're using unlimited money. And the fact that there is no cap on political party expenditure, that is what is being exploited. Thousands of crores are being spent on media blitz, and that disturbs the level playing field. A poor man has no chance of contesting an election and winning in such a scenario.
Siddharth, you wanted to say something?
Yes, yeah, I think you're quite right to talk about the influence that money can have on the creation of a so-called wave. I mean, back in 1943, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, in a different context, spoke about how the press can and is being used to manufacture great men. These are his words. And you can see, in the kind of spend in this election, very definite projection of this so-called wave phenomenon taking place. We don't have hard figures on what the Congress is spending, but I'm sure it's a huge amount. But there was one estimate in the Hindustan Times of the Modi campaign spending 5,000 crore in media alone. Now, just so that viewers have a sense, 5,000 crore is $870 million, which is just $100 million less than what the Obama campaign spent in its entirety in 2012 to get President Obama re-elected. And if you compare the nature of the two economies, that's how shocking this figure is. So I think there's an urgent need to have legislation in place that can place a cap on what parties can spend. Of course, media spend, advertising is only the tip of the iceberg, because you have opinion polls. Mr. Qureshi at his book launch in Delhi spoke about some of these opinion polls, the sting operation, how they're manufactured. there's paid news, there are any number of ways in which politicians and political parties try to influence voters by using or misusing the media.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, you give us some kind of a context when you say that, $870 million is probably the money being spent on media alone. Even if this is just somebody's guess estimate, it gives you some idea of the enormity of the problem we are facing. Gentlemen, we have to take a break. But thereafter, let's look for solutions. We have the three, perhaps the best minds on the subject. We are back in a minute.